Welcome, Deepti. It is such a pleasure having you. Such a pleasure. I've been waiting for this day.
Thank you for having me, Nadine.
You are most welcome. So I know the last time we spoke was about a month ago, or 3 weeks to a month ago. We had a really deep discussion, and it was just so refreshing. And I couldn't wait for this day. So how have you been?
I've been doing well, and like we just spoke about, time is flying. I mean, it's already July. Half a year has just gone by,
Yes.
and I thought the pandemic is slowing things down, but time flies, especially when you're a woman, you're a mother, and you're trying to juggle multiple things. Time just
Absolutely.
flies right past you.
That is so true. And then you wake up one day and you're like, what happened? Oh my God. So we're going to jump right into your background. I know that your home country is India
Mhm.
and you moved to Columbus, Indiana about 5, 6 years ago.
Yes,
So
that's
tell us
right.
about that. Tell us about that. How is it? What is the major difference in Columbus? I'm sure there's a lot of differences. And how has, growing up in India has really shaped the person that you are today? And how is it in Columbus, Indiana?
Sure. I grew up in a very big, bustling, cosmopolitan city in India called Pune. And that's where all of my life happened. All my formative years were there. And in 2015, I moved to the US, to Columbus, Indiana. And Columbus has been my home for the last 6 years or so. I think the major difference is anything that someone coming from the East faces in the West, culturally very different.
Yes.
Different in a very good way.
Yes.
It's not a shock for us because we were a British colony for 200 years, so we
Mm-hmm.
have Western elements in our country
Mm-hmm.
almost everywhere, so we are used to Western elements. But then moving to a country all the way across the globe definitely had wonderful challenges in store for me.
Yes. Yes.
And I think the best thing that I'm able to decipher out of all of this is, I'm able to pick and choose what I like from the East and the West and make my own bundle of culture in my life. Because in the US, what I loved about it was the individualism and the ability to trailblaze on many levels.
Yes.
People coming forward to make change, when there's obviously so much turbulence that happens in all countries. But I find that in the US, there is active change happening and faster than in most other countries. So those are parts of the US that I pick and I imbibe. And
Yes.
from my Eastern experience from India, it's a very spiritual country.
Yes.
I'm able to embrace my spirituality more here because of the said individualism, there's space
Yes.
yourself. And that has helped me be more Indian and delve deeper into my faith in the US. And of course, I think another thing that being Indian and my faith helps me is having the philosophy of giving without expecting anything in return.
I like that.
I think in the West, at least my experience of it is, if I'm giving you, what am I taking? There's a lot of give and take sort of a mindset,
Mm-hmm.
which helps the economy run, but I don't think it helps the soul run. And
Yes.
so what I bring from my Indian experience is my ability to give
Yes.
and have that kind of a relationship with everyone. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that karma catches up and gives it back to you sometime in bountiful return. It'll come back to you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that. And also India is a very, very fast-paced country as well. And you said that the world is fast, but we need to slow down. In order to be a really high performing individual, it's important for us to slow down. However, most of us were taught the opposite, right?
Mm.
That we need to be constantly on the go to be effective. But you're saying that that's the other way around. You're saying, no, slow down. In order to be a high performing individual, we need to slow down. So can you please share with our listeners how you know this firsthand?
Yes, I am a high performance coach, and the first thing I had to do was ensure that I was high performing. There's no
Yes.
way I could coach people without figuring that out myself. And I think the first thing I had to do in order to become high performing myself was to define what my life looks like on a day to day basis. What is one day in my life? What is my energy? What are the things I'm doing? Who am I spending my time with?
Mm,
And defining that clearly, including the purpose of my life in that, was the first thing to do. Get clear on what you want out of your life and how it looks.
I like
And
that.
once that is anchored, Nadine, I think it's very easy to start quitting things. Again, quitting is
Yes.
such a taboo. We've been taught to never quit.
Yes.
Whatever you take up,
Yes.
take it to the end.
Yes.
But quitting is a high performing skill,
Yes.
because once you decide what your purpose is and what your life looks like, the
Mm-hmm.
next thing to do is eliminate everything that doesn't serve that vision.
I love that. Yes.
And that could be quitting habits, quitting
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
quitting activities, even quitting thought processes.
Yes.
And go on, quitting has to be done in order for you to serve that purpose, because we are limited. We are not some unlimited energy body that can do everything they plan to do. You have
Yeah.
limited energy, limited time,
Yes.
limited ability to put in effort. Might as well decide what gets that attention, and then
Yes.
that is what leads to laser sharp focus
I
into
love that.
what you are doing with your life, your career, your relationship, whatever it is that you need to work on, and bring it to the highest potential. That's
Yes.
the only way you can get laser sharp focus, by doing this.
I love that. Oh my goodness, love it. So we're gonna revisit what you just said about, because I think it ties into setting boundaries, right?
Mm.
Into really careful who you let into your space and what you let into your mind as well, and what you eat. It's all tied into your purpose, because your purpose dictates everything: what you eat, who you spend time with, what you watch, what you consume. So we're going to revisit that. um but I know that you have global experience because you're from India. You travel all over, and you're now living in the States. So I know that your global experience gave you a new lease of life. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. I think I count myself as one of the lucky people who've been able to move around the globe the way I have been able to. I haven't visited a lot of countries, but I
Mm-hmm.
think for my age and my experience, I think I've traveled quite a bit. And and the best thing about it, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, is how I'm able to pick and choose what I want in my life. Because when you have a global experience, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, because you have this, you have that, I can do this sounds cool, that sounds cool, and you can get so
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed because there's a
Yes.
problem of choice.
Yes.
But the other end of it, when you think about it, is you have this plethora of cultures, plethora of values, plethora of morals, plethora of, living a life. And you have the choice of
Yes.
picking what works for you, if you've defined your purpose correctly. If you've defined, this is how my life is going to be, this is my
Yes.
purpose, and you
Yes.
get to pick and choose from all this variety in your global experience to serve that. And so,
Yes.
like I said, one of the biggest things I've picked from being in the US is individualism and originality. I think this country, on many levels, does a good job of representing originality and trailblazing.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that has powered me to be myself more. And I don't think if I was living in some other part of the world, I would be able to do it as well as I'm doing it here.
Yes. Yes. You have the freedom to walk in your truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I know that you're in Toastmaster. So tell us about your role in Toastmaster and what made you join Toastmaster, and how has Toastmaster shaped the person that you are today?
Toastmasters is has been life changing for me, to say the least. And I didn't know that when I joined the club here in Columbus. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went on to become the president. Now I'm an area director, and that's going on the
Amazing.
side. Thank you. But what I'd like to point out, especially to you and your listeners, I think Toastmasters was something that served my creative juices, that reminded me on how to be in my flow state. So,
Mm.
what I urge everyone to do is, no matter what your day job is, find out what your jam is. What makes you go into a flow state. is
Mm.
it is it dancing, is it singing, is it public speaking like in Toastmasters, is it origami? I don't know, but figure out
Yes.
what your jam is, what brings you in a flow state, and
Yes.
go seek spaces that are allowing you to do that. Once you're in
Yes.
that process, you're going to expand your mind so beautifully. It's going to creep into your work, it's going to creep into your relationships.
Yes.
And after you figure out what that jam is and you start doing it, find other people who are doing the same. And then it's going to give you that synergy of creativity. And that's what Toastmasters did for me. Public
Yes.
speaking may not be for everyone, but what it's representing is finding that one thing, that's going to relax you, but challenge you and keeps you looking forward to it. And also finding your
Yes.
tribe that does the same thing
Yes.
is going to take your creativity to a whole new level. So find synergy, find your jam, and that's what
Yes.
Toastmasters did for me. You can go ahead and find out what that is for you.
Yes. And Toastmaster, for you anyways, you're a high performing coach. You help high performing leaders to really stand out.
Mm.
And Toastmaster, I believe, would also help with building confidence as well, because it allows you to put yourself out there. And because I remember when I joined Toastmaster, my first day was terrifying. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to stand in front of all these people
Yeah, it is.
and give a speech. So it helped me to own my skills. And even, I was messing up, and not because, when you're on your first day in front of large amount of strangers,
Yeah.
it's natural for you to become nervous. But then as you continue to go back and go back and go back, then it becomes second nature. So I really do love Toastmasters, and I can tell that, it has done a tremendous job for you, because here you are sitting here with us, just, being the incredible coach that you are. Excuse me. And I noticed that you have a penchant for learning. And you said that you seek spaces that you might fall. Tell us about that, because I really, a lot of people tend to shy away from areas that they think that they're not strong in. And I think it's very important to note, or to understand, that the spaces that you believe, right, that you have
Mhm.
challenges in, those are the spaces that you really should put time and effort in. So can you please, talk to our listeners about that?
Oh, absolutely. This is my favorite because, either the listener gets excited with what I'm saying or gets offended. So I think I think the I think the first thing I'd like to bring to attention is the
Hmm.
mindset you need in order to be a learner, you know. And a
Yes.
real life example would be children. Just look at them. When they are in a playground, or when they are, anywhere for that matter, at home, in a playground, among friends, among grown-ups, they do not think of others' judgment of themselves.
Mm, that's true.
And my son, who's 3 years old, is who inspired me with this. They say, when a child comes into your life, don't teach the child how to be, but learn from the child how to
That's
be.
true.
You are taken back to what you originally were born as, and what your original set of attitudes and mindsets were. And so I
Yes.
thought, let's look at my son, who seems to be so happy all the time, and let's figure out what the secret is. And the secret is absolute oblivion to other people's judgment. And it's easier said than done. I
Yes,
know it's
yes,
easier said
yes.
than done, but identifying that mindset is the first step. The second thing, that I mentor quite a few people in Toastmasters, and how I help them overcome their stage fear, is assume that the audience around you, or the people around you, are not judging you. Assume it.
Yes.
Assume they're your friends. They're here to help you. When you start with that assumption, and if they prove themselves right, you won. And if they don't, you still gave a
Yes,
good
I
speech.
like that. I love that you say that, because we all get stuck in our mind thinking that people are always judging us, when in
Mm,
fact, most of the time, people are doing their own thing. They're not worried
mm,
about what we're doing. But why do you think that human beings are so caught up in always thinking that someone is judging us and maybe I shouldn't do this because someone is going to judge me and someone is going to say I suck, or we're
mm.
so caught up in this thought process that, what if someone say something about us? Why do you think we do that?
I think there are two components to this, Nadine, and all of us have it in ourselves. The
Hmm.
first component is biological, which is, when we were cavemen, you're always looking for threats and you're
Yes.
always in the survival mode and you're always trying to protect yourself. I think there is a part of us that's still in that survival mode, even though it's modern times, we still have caveman tendencies. So you're
Yes.
always thinking you're under attack. I think
Yes.
one part of it is that, and it's important to realize that, it's no more the case. So that would be
Yeah.
the first step. The
Yes.
second thing is, Nadine, ego. Um,
Yes.
your ego is what drives you to do well. It drives you to perform. It drives you to accomplish things. And all of that, it does a lot of good things for you, but it also has this negative side where it just can't take anything bad. Even the idea that, someone could point out a finger or someone could say something mean to me, that can put you off. So that's the plus and minus of ego, and I would say
Yes.
it's best to take a middle path. I'm a realist. I wouldn't say let go of your ego, but
Yes.
identify when your ego is coming in your way, and push it to the side. And it's not your day to day. I'm going to be a kid, play on this playground, and if I fall, I'll get up. So managing your ego and having that middle ground, I think, will help people do well.
Yes. And how do we know when our egos are stepping in? How do we identify that voice? Because it's so loud. How do we know when our ego is coming in and interrupting us?
I think when you have the overemphasis of, me, I,
Mm,
could they say that to
yes.
me? How could they do that to
Yes.
me? And when you have that
Yes.
me, I, myself sort of a sentence bombarding in your head again and again, it's your ego working. Versus when you're thinking, oh, this was a speech and the evaluator told me that, my vocal variety was not in place, and yeah, maybe I wasn't. So when you're looking at your own story objectively, that ego is not working. But when you're looking at
Yes.
your own story from a, how could they say this to me, you know
Yes.
it's an ego problem.
I like that. So you talk a lot about leadership and how Toastmasters has helped you develop in that way. And you're a leadership coach and also business consultant. So what took you down that path?
I think becoming a high performing person happened way before I became a high performance coach.
Oh, okay.
I moved here, I had the chance to take a break and had the chance to work on myself, to reinvent my life. And then when I started going to Toastmasters, that's where I got my first client, because they probably noticed, oh, this is quite a high performing individual, and will she coach me? And that's how it happened. It was accidental. I didn't even think of going into coaching or training or any of that stuff, but somebody saw that in me and approached me. And when I started working with that person, I saw the difference I was making in that person's life.
Mm,
And it had been a long time since I had an aha moment. And when I had that, I thought, okay, this is something I'm not going to let go. And when
yeah.
I saw that in people, I decided this is my path.
Nice. And what are the attributes of a high performing leader or person? You said you were already high performing before you became a high performance coach. So what are some of the attributes that you see in, like, let's say your clients, excuse me, that would lead you to believe that individual is high performing?
I think what I definitely screen for first is the potential for high
Okay.
performance. Usually people
Okay.
who come to me are people who want to excel in life, but there are so many seeming obstacles that they're not able to, feel at their highest potential, even though they have
Yes.
so much. And so once I identify that, I start working with them. And yes, the first thing is the openness to learning, the openness to
Mm,
accepting that I am completely wrong. I think that's the first trait of a high performing individual, ready to constantly reinvent yourself and even at sometimes laugh at yourself. That's
yes.
the first thing. And the second thing would be this dedication to
Mm-mm.
finding out what is my role in this world, what is my purpose, and how do I navigate this world staying true to myself. I
Yeah.
think someone who's dedicated to being true to themselves is of absolute importance, and to an extent that on some level others opinions matter less. That person has to already be on that path, but is still
Yes.
struggling to sort of let go, to quit, because we've been designed to keep running, keep going on the
Yes.
go. Don't quit anybody or anything, and have a big social circle. So there are these contradictory ideas that even high performing individuals have, and then I have to peel each of those layers and tell them, you can quit this, you can say no to this. And then, so somebody who's already on the path of knowing that, no, I need to give up on some things, but I don't know how to.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you
So,
because I yeah because I cannot train someone who holds on to the fact that I need everybody to like me, and that's my only way
yes.
of living. If that's the thought process, I cannot work with that person.
Completely agree. And earlier, excuse me, you talked about, and just now as well, you talked about finding your purpose.
Mm,
Um, I didn't really feel alive
mm.
until I found my purpose. I felt dead inside. And I noticed that once I started walking in purpose, I wake up every day with a new lease on life. Why do you think it's so important to find your purpose?
Wow, that's such a big question, but such an important one, because I think life is, it could be short or long. I wouldn't say life is short. You could live 100 years, you could live just 40 years,
Yes.
but the time that you have is precious. You are a limited human being. You have mortality. You're not forever. At least your body is not forever. What the soul does is a whole different um thing to talk about, but your body and your human life is limited,
Hmm.
and every day is precious. This day gone is one day less in your life. And when you
Yes.
look at it that way, how do you want to be living your life? Do you want to be chasing things because others are chasing it? Do you want to prove to others how amazing you are or how successful you are, and feel nothing about yourself inside? I mean, if you're not happy on a day-to-day basis, all your success and all your material wealth will just will go away from you when you die. So what's the
Yes.
point of living? Like, what is in it for you? If you are investing in life, your time, your energy, what are you getting back? You should be getting back happiness. You should be getting back a sense of peace every single day. You should feel loved. You should
Yes.
feel like your life matters and that you're making a difference in somebody else's life. These are the things that actually feed you.
Yes.
Your The size of your house, the size of your car, the money in the bank are just objects lying there. They're not really feeding your soul.
Yes.
And that's why we talk about burnout these days. That's why we're talking about people being lost, successful people taking their lives. People have no
I
idea why they're doing it,
I
because
know.
everything was done for the world to see as successful, but nothing was done for the heart to know that it was happy.
Yes.
I think that's the equation. If you want your heart to be happy and you want to feel excited to be living, find your purpose.
Yes, that was such an amazing and powerful answer. I absolutely love it. Work on ourselves from the inside out
Mhm.
before, we do anything else, because it all starts from the way we feel inside. And
Yeah.
the way we feel out inside is what creates our external reality, our external world. And you believe that an aspiring leader should work on themselves from the inside out, excuse me, to be a phenomenal leader.
Yeah.
What are some of the, when you say work on yourself, what are some of the things that they should be doing to be a phenomenal leader?
I think I will talk from my experience with the clients I've had. I've had quite a few female clients, and let me talk from that perspective
Mm-hmm.
because I'm biased. I'm a woman, and I have a bias for female leaders. And what I see is the first thing to know is find out what your weaknesses are, because
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to find out what your strengths are, and it's
Yeah.
very comfortable to play your strengths. But I think what you need to do is find your weaknesses and befriend them. And what we women face, especially as leaders, I think as aspiring leaders or as leaders, is constantly being uh, constantly being judged or constantly being underestimated. No matter how good you are, if you're a woman and if you're a leader and if you're the boss of the room, and even if you just have opinions, there is a good chance that you're being underestimated. Oh, what
Yes.
does she know? You get that vibe. And I think
Yes.
what happens to women leaders especially, or any leader who's feeling attacked, is that you get agitation. So that's your
Mhm.
weakness right there, and that takes you down. So identify the weakness that gets triggered in you because of your external environment, because that will take you down. So when I work with women leaders, I identify this agitation and I tell them it's there. Now cope with it. Don't let it take you down. Don't let it give you mood swings. Don't let it fire at someone or raise your voice at someone. So identifying your weaknesses as a person is paramount to working on yourself from the inside out. And once you work on that, nobody has anything on you. The only thing you can do is be a phenomenal leader.
Oh my goodness, that was so amazing. I love it. Identify your weakness and work on that. And as you're saying that, I'm looking at myself, and my biggest weakness is, I think, time management. If
Mhm.
I get to the end of the day and I'm going down my list or in my head and of things that I wanted to do but I didn't get them done, I start feeling like a loser. I start
Mm,
getting agitated. I start just really just turning in on myself and just being so pissed off for
mm.
not being productive that day. How do I get over this?
Well, Nadine, I'm so glad that you identified, that's a weakness, because so many people don't even know what their weaknesses are. They just fall into that spiral of, oh, I didn't get this done today, I'm not productive, and then you have a bad mood, and then maybe you pick a fight with a partner and you
Yeah.
don't know why. That's people don't even realize those are weaknesses. So the best thing you've done is identify the weakness. The second thing to do is love yourself like you
Mhm.
love someone that you love. Imagine if it's your partner or your son who was not being productive, who didn't do the things that were on their list. How
Mm.
would you look at them? What would you
Yes.
say to them? What is the kind of support that you would give them when they were feeling the same way you were feeling? And just redirect that to yourself. It's as simple
I
as that.
like that. Yes. Love myself as if I would, same way I love my son. My son is
Yes.
my everything. And
Yeah.
and yes, I love that. I'll start practicing that because I get very hard on myself,
Mm,
especially, at the end of the day, if I haven't done the thing that I know that is helping me to grow spiritually and also in my career as well.
yeah.
I get very hard on myself. So thank you so much. That really really helped, because I know that there's a lot of people who are listening right now who can, relate to
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Mm.
We are very hard on ourselves more than we are with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to remember that we come first, and be gentle with ourselves. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so as we learn and grow, we become more attuned with ourselves, and our taste in things and people change,
Mm,
especially when we start loving ourselves. The things that we once liked, or the people that we once used to allow in our space, if they're not on the same, I guess, frequency as us,
mhm,
it doesn't feel the same, and we want to be around different things and different people,
mm.
which is not bad. It's just all about moving forward and upward. So I guess my question is, what is the importance of setting boundaries and really allowing things and people into your space to help you evolve?
I think going back to, the first thing that we discussed
Yes.
about, what serves your dream life, what serves your purpose, knowing that, and then eliminating everything else that doesn't serve that. I think that would be the basic, simple answer. But
Yeah.
to get into the details of it, I would say, once you have that figured, setting those boundaries will obviously help you, because this person doesn't serve you and that person or that habit doesn't serve you. But sometimes, people you love deeply are also people you want to set some boundaries on, but you don't know how. I think that's where it gets difficult, where there's deep
Yes.
love involved, but then you're not able to set boundaries. And in those cases, even the frequency doesn't matter, because it could be your parent, who loves you deeply but is not on the same frequency as you.
Yes.
It could
Yes.
be your partner, it could be your son. Your kid is never on the same frequency
I
as you,
know.
but then you
Yes.
still
Yes.
love them and they love you.
Yes.
And again, bringing back to being a woman, I think we are, waterfalls of love and abundance and protection and all of that. And I think where we go wrong is we start seeing people that we love as extensions of ourselves. And
Mm.
then that's where all the trouble happens, because you not only are anxious for yourself, you're not only hard on yourself, you're not only meddling in your own life, but you start doing that for everyone that you love. And then that's where you start draining your energy. And especially as a mother, because you see your child as this extension of you and you pour so much, and then it might go to a point where it leads to frustration, depression, irritation, all of that. So setting boundaries with people you don't love a lot, I think, is quite doable. But
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries with people that you love is something that we need to figure out, because you feel, if I love, there's no boundary. No, there are boundaries. You have to
Yes.
protect your energy.
I never
If you
thought about that. Setting boundaries with people that you love. I never
Mhm.
thought about that. When I'm thinking of boundaries, I'm thinking of people who are not serving me.
Mm,
But then, you wouldn't look at your child and say that your child is not serving you, but
yeah,
you still need to set boundaries to,
yeah.
for your own mental state. Because I remember in the earlier years when I first had my son, I didn't know, I didn't really understood the importance and the challenges that comes with motherhood. And for the first couple of years, it was so difficult for me. That's when I
Mm,
really started to that's when I really went into like a deep, I guess they call it postpartum depression,
mm,
because I was giving all of myself to my son. And I have this big dream of, creating myself and becoming, well, I didn't really know what becoming the best version of myself was until I hit rock bottom. But I knew that I
mm,
had plans, and I wanted to do something more than just be a mom.
mm,
And that really weighed heavily on me. Every day I would wake up depressed
mm.
and wondering, when is it going to change? What do I need to do? Why am I feeling this way? And I guess what I'm trying to say is, what is what is it that women, because we wear so many different hats, and it can really take us down. And it wasn't until I really started, when they say when you hit rock bottom, that's when you realize that you cannot go any lower, right? So
Mm,
the only way from here is to get higher. So
mm,
it's either you just completely go nuts, or you work or you work on yourself. Why is it so important for women to really put themselves first, and to really value self-care, and take care of ourselves before we take care of anyone else?
yeah, I think this is the best, my most favorite thing to talk about, because I see that happening to women all around me, and I see that happening to me, and
Mhm.
I am, by many accounts, a person who is, much more bold, and if there's an average
Yes.
curve, I'm way above the average when it comes to boldness and
Yes.
competitiveness and making my point and assertiveness. And even I have faced the thing that you just said, Nadine,
Mm,
where you give yourself, I don't know if it's a biological thing, we don't know the source, but I think
yes.
we tend to be like this waterfall of, abundance. And that's a great strength we have, because
Hmm.
nobody can love like we love,
I
I
know.
see that. But then what
Hmm.
happens is, when we don't control it, because if a waterfall has, too much of water, you could flood the whole place. You don't want to do that.
Yes.
You want the waterfall to just flow down there and nourish all the plains around it. You don't want it to flood the plains,
Right.
to put it simply. So what you do is, identify that this is a strength, and not feel like that's some kind of a problem that you have. You're always
Hmm.
giving yourself, and accept that it's a strength, and find the points where it's taking you down the cliff, or it's going in the wrong direction. Is it because you spend the whole day with your child and you didn't even take out a single hour of alone time? So identifying the points where it starts going wrong in that abundance would be the most important thing to do, and then slowly learn to withdraw.
Yes.
And I like to talk about nature's example. You look at
Hmm.
animals, you look at
Hmm.
animals and you see animal moms. Let's just take a lioness and her cubs. Do you see her hanging out with the cubs whole day? No, she has to let them go. I think nature has all the answers. She does let them go. She needs to
Yes.
go and hunt. And she does leave them a little vulnerable for some time. And it's working. And if it's working in nature, I think that's the best place for us to identify that, there's a point after which I need to not give myself. It's
Yes. Yes.
contradictory,
Yes.
but learning how to be a little selfish, a little holding back, because you're a waterfall and you don't want to flood. You're already a waterfall, so when you're holding back, you're not loving. You're just
Yes.
preventing flooding.
Yes. Yes.
So just see it that way. And when you see it that way, you'll see that it's a strength, and you're going to prevent it from becoming a weakness.
Yes. Yes. And what really worked for me was because I couldn't go through another year of feeling the way I was feeling drained and low and depressed and worthless, and like my life wasn't going anywhere. And I got tired of blaming my son.
Mm,
I got tired of being a victim. I got tired of just feeling hopeless. It's a very low vibrational
yeah.
space that I was in, and I got tired of it.
Mm,
And that led me down the path of personal growth. And what has been working for me is really waking up earlier than my son wakes up, and taking that time out for myself to be me, to do whatever that serves my soul, like meditating and exercising and reading and affirmations. Those are the things that really pulled me out. And I noticed that if I stopped that, like about a month or two ago, about a month ago, I
mm,
kind of fell off the bandwagon, if I'm being honest here. And I don't know what happened. I think I was going to bed late,
mm,
and I was just too tired to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I fell off. And
mm,
I kept telling myself every day, okay, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And then a whole 3 weeks went by and I wasn't doing it. And I started realizing that I was falling back in the same pattern
mm,
of not feeling worthy, of not feeling productive, of not feeling alive. And I was like,
mm,
no, 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 not I'm not going back down that path. And I started doing the things, my routine, of taking that alone time out for myself in the morning is so important,
yeah.
of having that me time, because the world is so noisy and loud,
Mm,
and it's right. Would you agree? It's so it's so important to really take that time out. And as a high performing coach that you are, I'm sure you've seen so many people that is so fed up with life, but they
yeah.
don't know where to go or how to start. So you're doing such an amazing job. I really do love this conversation, because there's so many women who can relate to what we're
Mm.
to what we're talking about. And as you look to the future, where do you see your future? Like, what's next for you?
Well, for me, it's been an interesting year, because I have just delved into this new area called cultural proficiency, which happens to be a high
Mm.
performance skill. When I
Oh.
was working with my clients, Nadine, I noticed that almost all of them were, I'd like to use a better word, but victims of discrimination, bias, and it's, women, people of color, and even other things like, people who are overweight or underweight. Human beings find all ways to discriminate against
That's
each
so
other. So
true.
that keeps coming in the way of many people, even the most high performing individuals, that's a big
Yes.
problem. And I realized, because I'm Indian and I live in an American, town which
Mm-hmm.
has a majority of, European origin
Mm-hmm.
individuals, I thought, what is coming in the way of at least, women of color, and especially women of color who are Indian, was
Mm-hmm.
that nobody knew about our culture, even though there are quite a few of us among people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, there are so many people in the community who want to be inclusive, but
Yes.
are not able to do that. So I developed this tool called cultural proficiency, which has methods and frameworks to help everybody become culturally proficient of each other. So I would become culturally proficient about the European culture or the Brazilian culture or, Japanese culture, and, everyone would get proficient in my culture. And I
Mm.
developed the method to be able to do that, so that when you see someone who's different than you are, someone who
Mm-hmm.
eats differently, someone who speaks differently,
Mm-hmm.
or someone who just dresses differently,
Mm-hmm.
how do you deal with that in a way that that person feels included?
I
you
like
know and
that.
then when everyone feels included, Nadine, that's when, even the economy starts running better, because if I feel included in this community, I'm going to do my job better. I'm going to
Yes.
give myself to the community. I'm going to give my money. I'm going to give my time and my effort if I feel included.
Yes.
And so that is a high performing community. That's where I'm going
Yes. I
now.
like that.
That's the talks I'm giving, that's the training I'm giving to people these days in the community about becoming culturally proficient and sensitive to others and making
Yes.
everyone feel included. You
That's
have diversity,
amazing. Yes.
but if they don't feel included, they're
Yes.
being excluded.
Especially in the workplace as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Feeling included will definitely raise productivity.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And you also have a bachelor's degree in engineering. You're an engineer,
Yes.
and that space is usually filled by men. How, how do you how have you seen any type of bias?
Oh
Have you
yeah.
faced any?
Of course. And to add to that, I'm a mechanical engineer, so
Yes,
even
yes.
when I was studying, I was just one of the, 8 or 10 girls in a class of 100, 120, I think. And I think
Wow.
that's when it first started. And that's, and I was from an all girls school, luckily. And I had learned, that my gender didn't come in the way of my skills for 15 years of my life, luckily. And then when I stepped into, college, and I was one of the few girls in a class full of boys, that's where it first started. All the biases where, I applied to a leadership position and no one votes for me, even though, even if, I'd like to think I was the best, but at least I was one of the best,
Yes,
and
yes.
I wouldn't get the job. And the professors would look at me like, some kind of a wallflower, or maybe it's that agitation of being underestimated. I faced that in
Yes.
college, and it did come in my way. And I learned how to navigate it. I started myself uh, thinking gender neutrally. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
look at men as men, I just saw them as people. And then I
Mm-hmm.
worked on myself and manage my way through. But most importantly, I learned to divert my agitation. I think especially when women are capable, or anyone who's capable and talented and feels underestimated or not acknowledged, dealing with that emotion was the first thing for me to navigate that bias. I accepted it's there. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized I'm still going to do what I have to do. And if they see it, they see it. If they don't, I'll figure out another way.
I love your confidence. I love
Thank
your
you.
confidence. You're welcome. And that has helped you to develop this assertiveness and
Yes.
boldness
Mm.
to go after your dreams. because
Yeah.
nothing is going to stop you. I absolutely love it. And I love this discussion. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
But this was such an amazing discussion. You are, doing such an amazing job to be so young. You would think the wisdom coming out of you that you're much older, but you're so, you're very young, on the right path, doing an amazing job. And the world can use your wisdom in slowing down and going inside and working on ourselves from the inside out to become this phenomenal coach that our person, whoever leader that we're meant to be. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for stopping by. This was an amazing discussion. I could go on and on. I remember when we spoke about a month ago, we talked for like an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. I think we were supposed to speak for like half an hour or something, and it
you
became an hour
know
and a half.
and then it went to hour and a half, because it's always a pleasure chatting with you, because you have so much wisdom, and I'm sure that I will be asking you to come back in the future.
Oh, I would love to, Nadine. I had such a good time today. You're so pleasant, and I think you brought out the
Thank
right kind
you.
of answers from me, and we have our frequencies matching when we speak, and that always
Yes.
brings out the best, I think, from a guest. And you were such a wonderful
Thank
podcaster.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And you made it so much better. And I learned so much. I can definitely see our relationship escalating and going to the next level, because
Absolutely.
I need some of that wisdom.
And I need some of your sprightliness and liveliness. There are not a lot of people in the world who have this attitude towards life and this kind of openness to, high energy and learning. So I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
you,
you.
Nadine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepti. I really appreciate that. And how can our listeners tune in and connect with you? Because I'm sure they're going to want to connect with you. How can they connect with you? Where can they find you?
I think for now they can find me on LinkedIn under the same name, Deepti
Mhm.
Vijaykumar, and just, say hi on the chat box. And I love speaking. And just like, I had this lovely session chatting with Nadine, if our frequencies match, whoever chats me, you never know where it goes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for stopping by, Deepti. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Nadine. I had a good time.